charging cable on your desk contains more computing power than the machine that landed human beings on the moon. This is not an exaggeration for effect, it is simply true. The Apollo guidance computer ran at about 1 megahertz, held 72 kilobytes of permanent memory, and had 4 kilobytes of workspace. Your washing machine laughs at those numbers, and yet on July 20th, 1969, in the most important 90 seconds in the history of computing, this little machine made a decision that saved the moon landing. This is its story. In August 1961, just weeks after Kennedy's moon speech, NASA signed the very first contract of the entire Apollo program. Not for the rocket, not for the capsule, for the computer. NASA understood something profound before almost anyone else. You could not fly to the moon by hand. The computer was not a component, it was the mission. The contract went to the MIT Instrumentation Laboratory, and the machine they designed broke rules that had not been written yet. Computers in 1961 filled rooms and drank electricity. The Apollo computer had to fit in 1 cubic foot, sip 70 watts, and survive launch vibrations, vacuum, and radiation, while navigating 250,000 miles with the precision of a rifle shot. Its memory was woven by hand. Programs were stored in something called core rope, copper wires threaded through or around tiny magnetic rings. A wire through the ring meant 1, around it meant 0. Every single bit of the software that flew to the moon passed through the fingers of textile workers, mostly women, hired for their precision. The engineers called it, affectionately, little old lady memory. If one wire went through the wrong ring, the error was baked into hardware forever. They almost never made one. The software was led by a young mathematician named Margaret Hamilton. Software was so new that universities did not teach it, and when she called her discipline software engineering, people laughed. She used the term deliberately, insisting that code deserved the same rigor as bridges and airframes. On the wall of history, that joke aged well. Today, software engineering employs tens of millions of people. The famous photograph of Hamilton, standing beside a stack of printouts as tall as she is, shows the listings of the very code her team wrote for Apollo. And buried inside that code was the idea that would save the mission. The computer was designed to fail well. Hamilton's team built an operating system that juggled tasks by priority. If the machine was ever asked to do more than it could handle, it would not freeze and it would not crash. It would shed the least important work, keep the vital tasks alive, restart itself in milliseconds, and carry on. In 1969, this was radical. Today, your phone still works this way. July 20th, 1969. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are in the lunar module Eagle, falling toward the moon. 6,000 feet up, with the surface rushing closer, a yellow warning lights up. The computer announces 1202. Neither astronaut has ever seen that alarm in a simulator. Armstrong's heart rate climbs. Aldrin asks for a reading. 250,000 miles away, Mission Control has 15 seconds to answer one question. Continue or abort the landing of the century. In the back room, a 24-year-old engineer named Jack Garman looks at his handwritten cheat sheet of alarm codes. 1202, executive overflow. The computer is being asked to do too much, but it is doing exactly what Hamilton's team designed. Dropping low-priority tasks, protecting the landing calculations, restarting clean. The guidance is safe. Garman passes the word up the chain, "We're go on that alarm." The overload, engineers later confirmed, came from a radar switch left in a position that flooded the computer with meaningless data, stealing about 15% of its processing time. A lesser design would have locked up and died 6,000 feet above the moon. Hamilton's machine calmly threw the garbage overboard and kept flying. The alarms kept coming, 5 of them during the descent, and Mission Control waved each one through. Then a new problem. The planned landing site was strewn with boulders. Armstrong took manual control of the descent while the computer kept flying the engine, and together, man and machine, they touched down with about 30 seconds of fuel to spare. The first words from the moon were not poetry. They were a status report. The Eagle has landed. The Apollo computer never made a single hardware error in 11 crewed flights. Not one. The machine everyone worried was the weakest link turned out to be the most reliable component of the entire program. Its legacy is everywhere. Apollo's appetite for integrated circuits, at one point buying a majority of all the chips made in America, drove prices down and quality up, feeding the industry that would put a computer on every desk and then in every pocket. Its fly-by-wire philosophy now lands every airliner you board. And the discipline Hamilton named, born from weaving ones and zeros into copper rope, became the invisible infrastructure of modern civilization. There is a lesson in this machine, and it is not about power. We did not reach the moon with the fastest computer. We reached it with the most thoughtful one. A machine built by people who assumed things would go wrong and designed it to know what mattered most when they did. Underpowered, overprepared, and impossible to panic. 50 years later, that is still the best design philosophy ever flown. If this story earned your time, subscribe. The archives are full of machines that changed everything.